In this video, we're going to make a shiny animated button and an end card for a social media video. So we're going to begin by designing a button, aligning things up, adding a little gradient, some animation, a little drop shadow, and finish off with some basic scaling of an image and some text just to fill it out. So hope you enjoy. See you in the next video. Before we get into the video, let me just quickly say, if you're buying course after course, binge watching YouTube tutorials and building a portfolio, hoping to get clients, and you're not getting paid, you're focusing on the wrong things. I made these mistakes for years and I realized what I was missing. It wasn't flashy effects or crazy video editing skills, it was context. Over the years, I've learned to create videos that businesses actually want and how to attract those clients and charge upwards of $500 a video without giving away my time or ideas. And right now I'm teaching a handful of students my exact methods in the Video Ad Academy. So if you're tired of sharpening your tools and really want to make a career out of your video editing skill set, hit the link below and check it out. Okay guys, so I've got a cool project for you today. I want to give you something that's going to help you learn After Effects if you're a beginner, but also something that I use a lot. So we're going to make a little button which could say order now or sign up today. I pretty much put this kind of thing on the end of every video. So what we'll do is we'll create the button and then we'll create like an end scene. So to get started, let's open up After Effects. Again, you can follow along or you can do this separately, watch it once and then have a go yourself. So I'm just going to create I'm going to save a project. So I've opened up and I'm going to save my project as button. And now we're in After Effects. To make this simple for you guys, I'm going to reset default save layout. So that's at the top, by the way, window, workspace, default, save layout. And now we're in After Effects. I'm going to click new composition. You can make this any size you want. I'm just going to call this composition main, and then we've got width and height at 1080 by 1080, and we can just put the time down to 10 seconds. 24 frames per second is fine, but again, none of these matter too much. The main thing is we have a composition here. So the next thing I need to do is I'm going to get the rounded rectangle tool and I'm going to just drag it out like this. It doesn't really matter what size it is to start, and you can see that we've got some shape layer at the bottom. The shape layer is the layer that holds the shapes, and you'll notice if I make another shape without clicking off, I've got two rectangles in the shape layer. So you want to be sure to just have one, and then remember you can click V or click here to get off your shape layer, click down in the gray. But anyway, we're going to click our shape layer, drop down to rectangle path and increase the roundness, and you can see it increases the roundness of the edges and it caps out at 100. So you can increase the roundness to 100, going any further doesn't actually do anything. Now let me show you something. If we press S while clicking on the shape layer, it's going to show us our scale parameter. Now if we press bigger and smaller here with the anchor point in the middle, it's going to grow from the middle. So what we need to do is we need to unlink this scale if we want to make it bigger and shorter, but from one dimension. But see how it stretches and it distorts? From this point it's flat, it's not a round edge. So just a quick tip, when you are scaling a shape layer with a rounded edge like this, drop down rectangle, go to rectangle path, unlink X and Y, and then adjust the size. And now you can see we've actually got a circle that extends and it doesn't distort because we're not distorting the shape layer. Anyway, that might be a bit advanced, so for now I'm just going to go through this process again very quickly. So rounded rectangle tool, let's drag it out, let's go to align and put it in the center, a line in the panel at the top, then down, rectangle, drop down rectangle, roundness 100. And now we have what kind of looks like a button. Now we can click our text, and we can click on our text, and we can click to type, and I can put sign up today. And obviously I want to make this look nicer, so we can make the text white. I'm going to drop it down, and then I'm going to align it to the middle as well. Now if we click off, we've got something that kind of resembles a button. So I'm going to show you a few little tips and tricks. Let's say this button's at the bottom of the screen and things aren't aligned. What we can do is we can hold shift and select the layer and the text, and now you can see align says to selection or composition. If we align to the composition, it's going to align it centrally and vertically, horizontally and vertically, to the center of the composition. But if we just want them to align to each other, then we select them both and click selection. Now they align to each other, and then we can go to composition for just vertically. Now the button is at the bottom, so if you align them together first, then you can move them around, or you can align centrally to the composition. Another way to move both around would be to go layer, new, null object if you want, but you don't need to do this now, I'm just showing you. I'm just going to make that yellow to make it clearer. Now if we select both of these and choose this little pick whip and assign to a null object, we can actually move the entire button around, which is useful when you've got an animation, you've got a few layers, and you don't want to move them all together. You can just assign them to a null object. So now we've got this button, I'm going to show you a cool trick on how we can add a little gradient to the button. But first let's animate the button. Let's just make a simple animation here. So I'm going to drop down the shape layer. I'm going to drop down the rectangle 1, rectangle path and size, and I'm going to unlink the size properties, and I'm going to go to 1 second for now. I'm going to click the keyframe on size, and then I'm going to go back in time, and I'm going to put the size to 0. So now you can see we get this animation, but obviously it looks quite boring, so let's bring this back. Let's make this 12 frames, and now what we're going to do is, because it's just a flat animation, we're going to select both keyframes and we're going to press F9, because originally they were linear, so they're just going one speed, and now we get a nicer, smoother animation. What we could also do, actually I'm going to drag this out a little bit, the animation, select both keyframes, and I'm just going to I'm going to play around with the speed. So let's have a look which one looks good. I like that. So if you see, what we've done is we're selecting both the keyframes, press F9 and click this graph editor here. You can see it speeds up and slows down. But if we click this right handle and drag it all the way left, it's going to speed up quickly and have a longer slowdown. And we could even drag this out to 1 second. There we go, that looks really nice. So now what we can do, because obviously the text is only revealed, the text is already being shown, right? So what we can do is we can duplicate this shape layer and we can move it above the text. So obviously we can't see it at the moment, but what we can do is click on the text, and if you haven't got track matte down here, what you can do is you can toggle, make sure you've got this little button clicked and it shows track matte. Now if we make the track matte of the text shape layer 2, it's going to show the text where shape layer 2 is. So now you can see the text is revealed by the shape layer. So hopefully you're keeping up. If not, feel free to pause, slow it down, go back through. We'll recap at the end. So now I'm going to show you how you can add a cool little gradient to your shape layer. So first of all, I'm going to make this a nicer looking color. I'm a fan of like a bold pink color. So now the bottom shape layer, because the top one is invisible, it's just the matte. So we'll change the bottom shape layer to pink. Now I'm going to duplicate the shape layer, and I'm going to click on the rectangle tool. When I click on the rectangle tool, if you look at the top, we've got two buttons. One is tool create shape, and one is tool creates mask. We want to click tool creates mask, and we're going to draw a mask over the top half of the shape layer. Now what we're going to do is we're going to click on the shape layer and click on fill, and if we change this color just to a lighter pink, you can see we get a kind of really harsh gradient. So now if I press F and I increase the feather to like 30, it's going to add a bit of feather to that mask, and feather just means it fades it out, the mask. So if we go to 0 here, you can see it's a harsh line where that mask is. Now if I increase the feather, it softens it up, and now we've got a nice little gradient on the button, which almost makes it look 3D. And if you want to take things a step further, you can click on sign up today and go to effects and then drop shadow, and we can double click. I think that's a very harsh shadow, so what I might do, I'm going to put the distance down to 0, and then I'm going to put softness to 20, and now I've got a really, really sexy looking button. So now what we can do to add a final touch to the button, we can pre-compose all the layers. So we're going to select them all and press pre-compose. And what this does is it makes a new composition of all the layers, and I'm going to call this button. And now when it's pre-composed, you can see it's made a composition the size of a square, but if we click this little rasterize button down here, it collapses that composition to the size of the button. So it's this little button here. And now if I press Y, click on my anchor point and hold Control, I can snap the anchor point to the center of the button. So now I can also control the whole button and the animation with the composition. But that's not the plan here. The plan here, I'm just going to add a very cool light sweep to the button. So I'm going to drag my light sweep. By searching CC light sweep, I'm going to drag the light sweep onto the button. I'm going to bring the little widgety down, and I'm going to change the angle so that the light is going from left to right, and then we're just going to keyframe this animation. So the center icon we're going to bring all the way left, then we're going to click center in effects controls, then we're going to go forward a couple of frames. I'm holding shift so I move across in a straight line, and now we're making a keyframe for the second part of the light sweep. So now, there we go. And now if we wanted to, we can adjust the parameters. We could make this a smooth light sweep. We can bring the edge intensity down so it's more of a flat animation. But I really like that look. And then to finish off, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Unsplash and we're going to find a random picture. Now I've seen a camera, it kind of makes me want to do something with a camera. Let's just make an end card here. Okay, I've got an idea. I'm just going to take this picture of these trees because green and purple kind of complement each other, I think. I'm going to press Control, Alt, Shift and H, and then I'm going to get some text and I'm going to type Holiday Adventures. I always seem to default to holiday. And now what we can do, let's just spice this up a little bit. So we can go scale. I'm going to scale the image so that it goes up maybe to 35. So we've got this kind of thing. Actually, let's scale it to 30. And what we could do is we could move the button animation forward a bit, and we could animate the text. So I'm just going to go to opacity. I'm going to go to 12 frames, animate the opacity to 100, and there we go. So I hope you've enjoyed. Now we've got a nice little end card that looks really clean, and you've learned how to create a shiny button.